China's debt trap diplomacy is a term used to describe China's strategy of extending loans to developing countries in order to gain leverage over them. The loans often come with stringent conditions that give China access to the recipient country's resources and infrastructure. China has been pursuing this strategy for decades, but it has become more pronounced in recent years as the country's economic and political influence has grown. China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is a key part of this strategy. The BRI is a massive infrastructure development plan that aims to connect China to Europe, Asia, and Africa through a network of roads, railways, ports, and other infrastructure projects. While the BRI has been touted as a way to promote economic development and connectivity, many analysts have raised concerns about the debt burden it imposes on recipient countries. The loans provided by China often have high interest rates and short repayment periods, making it difficult for countries to service their debt. This has led to fears that China's loans could create a debt trap for countries that are unable to repay their debts. One example of China's debt trap diplomacy can be seen in Sri Lanka. In 2010, China provided a loan to Sri Lanka to build a new port in the southern city of Hambantota. The Hambantota International Port is a deep-water port in Hambantota, Sri Lanka, which has been leased to China on a 99-year lease. Opened in 2010, it is Sri Lanka's second-largest port, after Colombo. In 2020, the port handled 1.8 million tons of cargo. However, the project was poorly planned and failed to generate the expected revenues. As a result, Sri Lanka was unable to service its debt to China, which led to the Chinese government taking over the port on a 99-year lease. This has raised concerns about China's growing influence in the region and its ability to use economic leverage to gain control over strategic assets. Another example is in Pakistan, where China has invested heavily in infrastructure projects under the CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, initiative. The CPEC is a key part of the BRI and includes projects such as the construction of highways, railways, and power plants. However, Pakistan's debt to China has skyrocketed in recent years, leading to concerns that the country is becoming increasingly reliant on China. China's debt trap diplomacy is not limited to Sri Lanka and Pakistan. It has also been a concern in other countries such as Laos, Cambodia, and Kenya, where Chinese loans have funded major infrastructure projects. In some cases, these projects have been poorly planned and have failed to generate the expected returns, leaving the recipient countries struggling to repay their debts. China's debt trap diplomacy has raised concerns about the country's long-term goals and intentions. Critics argue that China is using economic leverage to gain strategic assets and extend its geopolitical influence. While China has denied these accusations, the concerns have led many countries to re-evaluate their relationship with China and seek alternative sources of funding for infrastructure projects. China's debt trap diplomacy is a controversial strategy that has raised concerns about the long-term consequences of China's growing economic and political influence. While the BRI has the potential to promote economic development and connectivity, it also poses significant risks for recipient countries that are unable to repay their debts. As China's influence continues to grow, it is likely that concerns about its debt trap diplomacy will remain a topic of discussion in international politics.